everybody. It is 9:30 a.m. August 10th, 2025. What a week. What a week. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff going on. Again, thank you guys for the messages about Claude, the feral cat. Claude is out. Okay, so didn't have insurance on Claude, right? Because he's not my cat. So the cost is going to be pretty up there, right? Because everything has gone up, and I don't want to go into the cost of what Claude basically cost, but basically we got him fixed up, we got him immunized, and since he was there, we got him spaded. And let me tell you guys something. My vet does everything they can do to reduce cost for you, and a lot of vets do that. So if you find an animal and you have a kill shelter like we have here, unfortunately, because we've got these LA people and people from wherever they're from that have come into the city with the mentality of, oh, I'll breed these pit bulls and I'll breed this and I'll breed that, and it overpopulates and the shelters just can't handle it. And so you could have a perfectly good dog that gets killed just because it's born. So a good example would be like Benny. Benny was 4 months old and he was in line to be euthanized. And it's funny because when I had Belle had 4 days to go before they were going to do it, and the technician at the time told me about the dog, and I was like, and that's what made me aware of what is going on in the animal shelters. But however, if you're a person who doesn't have the time or the effort to spend with these animals, I'm specifically talking about dogs, because cats can pretty much, take care of themselves, and they have their own communities, right? Don't get one. Just don't get one, because it makes no sense to have an animal and then you save it from a rescue or animal shelter and then you put it in a cage in your backyard, or make it a lawn ornament for the rest of its life. You know what I mean? That doesn't, to me, that doesn't help the situation. For those guys that know me, you guys that see me, because of my dogs that I've had in my retirement, it makes me walk every day. Every day that I can, well, I have to. It's not even if I can. I have to walk this dog. And I walk the dog at least, I try to do a mile. If I don't walk the dog playing fetch, Benny is a great fetcher. He loves chasing after that ball and bringing it back and chasing it out. My problem is I live in the desert, so it is extremely hot during the day, ultraviolet rays, triple digit weather, so I have to wait till like 7, 8 o'clock at night to where the dog won't overheat, or do it early in the morning. But I don't like to do it early in the morning because I want to sleep. So I got to wait till late at night. So I got to adjust my schedule to make sure I give them the time that they need. Now cats, you get it spaded, neutered, whatever, feed it. Pretty much a cat will tell you when it needs affection and love and stuff, because a cat will come up to you. But pretty much, I strongly stress people who do not have the time for animals, don't get an animal. Just don't do it. But I will say this: if you're not going to get an animal, please donate. Please donate to a shelter or to a rescue. They need the resources. The resources just are not there. So that should be, And unfortunately, we have a lot of how can I say it without being mean, irresponsible owners who get animals, they don't get them fixed. Next thing you know, the cat has a bunch of kittens, and a cat could have 2 litters in a year. So just imagine if a cat, let's just say, has 4 kittens in 1 litter, right? let's just say, minimum 4 kittens in the next litter. That's 8 cats a year. And you gotta, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But Claude is a feral cat by nature. He is ready to go. He is trying to fight to get out. So I have to let him out. I mean, he seems pretty okay. One thing I know about Claude, in the 2 years that I've known him, he'll be back by 6 o'clock. No later than 6 o'clock. Claude will be back expecting some food. He knows how to come in and out of the pet door, but I have to let him go out and do his thing because, I mean, screens cost money, right? I mean, he's like fighting to get out, so I have to let him out. And he seems okay. Everything, I checked his sack, and if you guys didn't know this, they don't cut off the cat's sack like they do the dog. What they do is they split it, take the testes out, and then they kind of like glue it back to where it'll come back together, which is why like the first day or two they want you to monitor the cat to make sure they're not licking in that area because it's like a glue. Then it heals, and then you have this little cat sack in the back of the cat. And I and I used to look at my cat and I'd be like, wow, he still has a little sack, but there's nothing in it. So I guess it kind of makes him feel like a man, but he's really not a man anymore, So anyway, so Claude the feral is out and about, but I do want to tell you guys this: these ERs, most vets, they will do everything they can to reduce the cost. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my shelter and say, hey, because a lot of shelters and city municipalities have grants that they get to neuter all these animals. Like in my animal shelter, if you adopt an animal, it is mandatory that it's not mandatory, but you're going to pay a higher fee if you don't neuter or spay, right? So maybe they already got this in place or whatever. Like I said, this wasn't my cat, but it needed to be neutered and spayed. So what I'm going to go and leave a message for the director of my animal shelter, say, hey, do you guys have like a reimbursement type program for like people who find hurt animals or even feral animals and they neuter them and whatever they need to do and reimburse them? I think that would help with the animal especially the cat population. If people who do have ferals in their neighborhood, it'll help the cat population stay reduced. So like me taking Claude, getting him done, and maybe getting like some kind of refund in the cost that I paid to spay him. So that's just an idea. Maybe I don't get it, but the point is we've got to come up with these ideas to solve these problems, because these animals should not be killed for the simple fact that they're born. You know what I mean? So again, Claude's doing fine. Like I said, I will guarantee he'll be back no later than 6 o'clock. Guaranteed. So again, if you don't have time for your dogs and your animals, especially your dogs, please don't get it. Please don't get a dog. Please don't do it. I walk around here and I look at some of my neighbors, and they leave their dogs out in the heat. Having a dog house is not cool for the dog. That's a hot box. Stuff they used to use for the slaves. The hot box. So, and then they don't have like cool water for the dog. The dog is sitting in, I don't know what people are thinking. If it's 103 degrees out and you've got a bowl of water out there for the dog, how hot do you think that water is? And it's not even fresh. How many of you guys saw my video? The first thing I taught Denny when I adopted him was how to drink out of the spigot that's on the outside, where your hose is connected to your house. I got a splitter, put my hose on one end, and put the dog waterer on the other end, right? And forced his head up there, and showed him push against it, and it'll water, and fresh, cool water will come out, unless the sun is directly hitting it. But even when the sun's directly hitting it, and you guys know from having hoses, it initially comes out kind of warm, and then it'll cool off. And it's fresh water that goes into a system, cool water that goes into their system, and the dog waters himself. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about if you leave home or something. The dog won't be dehydrated because the dog knows how to go there. So Benny has two of those. The little area on the side of my house where it's like his little pen. Benny has a spigot on that side, and he has a spigot in the backyard proper, and he knows how to go to both of those to water himself. So one thing I don't worry about Benny is watering him and wasting water. I don't have to worry about wasting water. So you can get those things on Amazon, on eBay for like 13 bucks. 13 bucks, fresh water that your dog is drinking. You don't have to worry about like the pathogens they would get because of the stagnant bowl water. And again, if you guys have cats are naturally dehydrated because naturally they like to drink running water, filtered water. So the best thing to do is to hydrate the water. And how do you do that? You can buy the ones that automatically come, which is like 20, 30 bucks. Or do what my mom told me to do. You make a cat fountain, which is basically you just get a oxygenator that you use in an aquarium, and you put it in a cat bowl, big enough with a lot of water, deep enough with a lot of water, and as the bubbles are coming up, it's oxygenating the water, which makes the cat drink more water. Then when the cat drinks more water, guess what happens? Less urinary infections, less dehydration infections, and bladder problems and stuff, because the cats are drinking a lot of water. My cat Misty, the cat's 17 years old. I've never had a medical problem with that cat other than her kicking the shit out of me to take her to the vet. But as far as her drinking water, she drinks constantly. When I clean her litter box, now that she's older, because she doesn't go outside as much as she used to, so now I got to get a litter box for her. She's constantly urinating in the litter box, and I'm checking to make sure. You can get like litter pearls, and you can kind of see the color of the urine. So if it's like super yellow and stuff, those are really great. But you can just get regular thing. But Misty doesn't have a problem, and you can tell in their fur if they're hydrated or dehydrated. Because you can look at some cats, especially like when Claude started coming around. George, before he passed away, George was dry. You could tell he was having, he wasn't drinking enough water. So, hey, April, good morning to you. Good morning. So I just wanted to say that real quick. So let me get to the meat and potatoes of this. And if I pause in about 15 minutes, I got to take some medicine real quick. I got to take it every day around the same time. So anyway, I have been asked several times with what is going on, do I regret my vote? As you guys know, and I'm unapologetic about it. I voted for Trump because being a California person, I know Kamala was a very bad candidate. Oh, you just didn't vote for her because she's a woman. Wow, I love the way people could get into my head and actually speak for me. And by the way, if I'm squinting and stuff, it's because I can't find my glasses. So I'll look for those later. So I'm light sensitive. I mean, my whole genetics is messed up. As I've gotten older, things are just crashing. April, I love that emoji, right? So anyway, oh, you're just misogynistic, whatever. No, I happen to know Kamala Harris' record here in California. She's just a bad candidate, and she's going to be a bad candidate. I already explained to you guys why she's not running for governor. She cannot make it out of a primary. She's never made it out of a primary. when she became a senator. People say, well, how did she become a senator? Did you guys realize she basically ran unopposed to be a senator in a super democratic state where black people cannot get reparations? Go look at 2016 when she became senator. She basically ran unopposed in a super democratic state. Wow, what a surprise. What I hate and dislike is people who are not from a certain state that don't know what they're talking about. I'm a political person, but if I have to talk about, let's say, Texas, I have to research what I'm talking about before I talk about it, or I just won't talk about it. Like, April, you're from Houston. You have a better understanding of what's going on in Houston than I do. I'm not no expert at Houston. But I am an expert of what's going on here in California. I can tell you that. So no, I don't regret my vote for Donald Trump, because dealing with what the Democrats were doing versus what Trump wanted to do, and if I had to look at the lesser of the two evils, the lesser of the two evils was Trump. And I'm not a Trump supporter. But you voted for him, so that makes you a supporter. No, it doesn't. I voted my interest. My interest is the fact that he's getting these illegals up out of here. That's going to help my people. Because ICE is doing what they're doing here in Southern California, the traffic is better. There are job opportunities where there's never been job opportunities before. And I'm not talking about like high scale, six-figure jobs. But I'm talking about people that can get entry-level jobs, because the people that aren't supposed to be there have self-deported. They've self-deported themselves, or they're scared to show up for work. Why do you think Karen Bass, a Latino lover, is trying to give them money? Because they're afraid to go to work. Well, goddamn, how many Americans are afraid to go to work? Don't want to go to work, but you don't see us getting free money. Yeah, April says, good tip. She's dropping out of California governor run because she cannot win a primary. That clears that up. Yeah, she can't. April, and when she ran for president in the first election in 2019, she was the first to drop out. And just think, when Tulsi Gabbard just took her head off in the debate. I mean, I look at people that look at Kamala as if she's this great politician because she says nothing. And, I'm like, have they seen her interviews? She's paying interviewers to softball her questions, and then she can't even answer the questions. April says, I voted for Donald J. Trump because he's from New York City, my hometown. He's savage and unapologetic. Yeah, you know what? New Yorkers, I was stationed in McGuire Air Force Base, Wrightstown, New Jersey. And there's just something about New Yorkers that, I guess because, California, we're a little bit more laid back in how we do things, and our racism is very covert. One thing about New Yorkers, people from New Jersey, and I had to figure it out when I was stationed there, because sometimes when I was stationed over there, people would just talk, and I'd be like, you do realize what you just said out in the open, right? And I used to think New Yorkers were just rude people. Philadelphians, they were just rude people, right? But then I realized, no, they're not rude. They're just honest. They're open and honest about how they feel about you. So if they're going to give you the finger, they're going to give you the finger. You know what I mean? They just don't. They're not going to hide. They're real people. They're real. So like what you're saying about Donald Trump, he's a product of where he's from, you know. And I got to give it to him. You know, I do respect that. I rather deal with a racist that lets me know where they stand versus somebody like here in California. Racism in California is very covert. You know, people say, "Oh, California is so liberal," but people don't realize California is very racist. Thus, you see the fleeing of black people out of the state. And now the Hispanics and the Asians are seeing what the Democratic Party is really about. Have you guys noticed with all of this ICE stuff going on, and it's so unconstitutional, oh my God, it's the end of the world. What are the Democrats doing about it? What are they doing about it? Do you see them in front of cameras every day voicing their displeasure? I don't see it. It's a game. This is theater. Good cop, bad cop. They'll go in front of the cameras and be outraged, but do nothing in regards of legislation. They've done nothing. You know, April says, it's an insane asylum. People are brash in New York City. Yeah, and then, you know, one thing I noticed about New York City, because it's an international city, the people that have moved there, from wherever they're from, they've also brought their racism with them, just like we experience here with the Mexicans and their racism, predominantly. I can only speak to Mexico, because that's our border. Majority of the issues that we deal with is the Mexicans and stuff like that. So, yeah, April says, I don't see their strategy. It's the gerrymandering they are fighting for now. Right. You know, it makes no sense to gerrymander, and Democrats have been doing it for years. Oh, well, we need to make all these black people here into a district because they're black. That makes no sense. But then again, the Democrats know black, we vote as a monolith. Thus, you look at the numbers from the last national election, Kamala Harris got her majority of her votes from black people, even though she's not a black candidate. She's black adjacent. She's something else, right? So it's okay for the Democrats to racially gerrymander districts based on color, but now what the Republicans want to do is they want to gerrymander based on party and voting. So Jasmine Crockett is upset because they are including a bunch of black people that voted for Trump in the last election within her district and moved her into a district that is still black, right? As they redid it, the neighborhood, the constituents are still mostly black, but they mostly voted Republican. It's crazy. And you're saying, yeah, she's a tether? I don't know. You know, a lot of people, it depends on how long the tether is, right? To me, you're a tether if you can't trace your family lineage to slavery or beyond. Because we know that we've been here before the Pilgrims even showed up. So we know that. Black people have always been here. We're all around the world, right? Aborigines in Australia. We are everywhere, right? So black people, we've been here. But if you cannot trace your lineage to the Civil War era, to me, you're a tether. Oh, well, my family got here in 1920. You're a tether. You know, so it just kind of depends, you know. But, you know, these tethers, they keep trying to redefine, you know, what it is that makes them us. But yet, you keep harping on your parents and your grandparents' lineage. But yet, you keep saying you're an American. You know, it doesn't make sense. I mean, a lot of us have white in us, right? But you don't see us talk about, I'm from Ireland, you know, and, the English and all this. So you don't see us doing that. We're our own people. April says, yeah, I've seen Crockett going on a rampage about the Texas redistricting map. I saw the Texas Dems have fled, and now Abbott is looking to arrest him. Yeah, see, and that's another thing. Instead of the Democrats sitting there and fighting and using all of the tricks that they use to deny black people reparations. Remember in Congress, and I know we're talking about Crockett and the Texas Assembly and their little thing, but it's still the same thing. Remember when they were talking about what they couldn't do for black people because of the parliamentarian? Well, the parliamentarian says we can't do it. The parliamentarian doesn't have any power, but the Democrats use that as an excuse not to get the George Floyd bill or whatever bill it was passed. And they went on to the next thing. The Democrats, they don't fight. They don't fight. It's a game. It's political theater. So no, I don't regret my vote, because what Donald Trump is doing is more beneficial to black people than if Kamala Harris and the Democrats were still in power. Imagine what the border would look like and how many more people would have flooded into this country, wiping out the black vote completely. I talk about what do we talk about when they leave the neighborhood and they push us out by my mind right now keeps thinking gerrymandering. You got me on gerrymandering thing, but when they move us physically out of our neighborhoods. But see, we think about the physical aspect of what they're doing to us, right? They're forcing us out of our neighborhoods physically, right? But we don't think about what they're doing to us politically, which is just as important. If you don't have a voice, gentrification, thank you. My mind is stuck right now in gerrymandering. So I know I'm getting older. So anyway, but that does happen, because my mind is, right? Yeah, so gentrification. They're gentrifying us out of our neighborhoods physically, but we're not thinking about how they're gentrifying us politically, right? A third of my city is black. Third of my city. But we don't have a third of representation at my city council. So where's the black voice? There is none. And nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks about that. Matter of fact, a friend of mine, he's running for assembly to replace this Negro and this piece of shit 60th District Assembly member, Corey Rainbow Jackson, right? A black she-he, whatever you want to call him, that does nothing for black people, was instrumental in stopping the reparations bill here in California, and he's going to run against him. He's going to run against him, and I'm going to support him. I'm going to support him to get that Negro up out of here. I would rather deal with somebody that is up front and says, I ain't doing jack for you Negroes, than somebody who, oh, this, we gon' fight. This Negro fights more for the Latinos than he does for his own people. Maxine Waters, Karen Bass. Look at all of these black representatives that do more for other people than they do for the very people that put them in office. So no, I don't regret my vote. I don't. 1 second. Woo! Gotta take that medicine. So no, I don't. Look at what Donald Trump has done, and he's a piece of shit too. You know, no thing to him, but you got to give him credit where credit's due. I don't, if you're going to do something that's going to benefit me and my people, I'll work with you. But it's the people who look like me that don't do absolutely nothing for me. But I want my Latino people to look at these Democrats. Look at the Democrats. Are they fighting for you? I know you guys want black people to come out and support you guys, whatever. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. And when I see black people out there crashing out for other people that would never crash out for you, good luck to you. But I think the best thing that I've done to help my people is to vote for a man that is getting rid of people who shouldn't be here, which frees up jobs. I get so tired of seeing Americans, young Americans, who can't get jobs, entry-level jobs. Is Donald Trump going to solve everything? Absolutely not. No president ever solves everything. But what he's done so far, at least here in California, the traffic is better. There are more job opportunities, better. All of these people that have been here for 20, 30 years, that are managers and supervisors in certain positions, and were just in those positions bringing in their homies and all this other stuff, now have either self-deported or have left those positions because, the hiring, their ICE is looking into all of this stuff. And you know what's ironic? When I see ICE, you rarely see any black people. Because I look at the scan, even though they might be covered, I see what seems to me either white men or Hispanics. So April says, does the voting district maps truly matter? I see Isaiah Martin is trying to get in District 18 in Houston, Texas. Yes, they matter, because what it is these maps are redone due to the census, which is another reason why I think the Democrats wanted to flood these illegal immigrants into the country, because the census is not based on citizenship. It's based on people, individual people. So the more people you have means the more districts you have to have, the more resources, federal dollars, goes into that new district or that new area. This is what I mean when I was saying there's a reason why they're opening the floodgates. I think the Democratic plan was to have power. So you let these people in, and they're going to do for you because you let them in, right? But what they don't understand is a lot of these people who come from these other countries, they have an entrepreneurial spirit, right? Because they got to go get it wherever they can get it. And when you have an entrepreneurial spirit, what happens? You don't want to pay taxes on your business, right? Because you're making money and stuff like that. You become Republican. Half of these people will vote conservatively. Look at the Latins down in Miami. Oh, we will vote for Donald Trump. We will vote for Donald Trump. And look what's happening down there. They got their wake-up call. The spouse of the lady that was singing that song that was very popular, he got picked up. These people become conservative. They think that they're white. And what's really crazy, April, a lot of these Latinos and Africans thought black Americans are immigrants too. When it comes to deportation, hey, Professor Howard, how are you? I'm going to call you Professor Howard because you are a teacher. But the thing about these groups, they thought that we were immigrants, is when it comes to deportation, you have to have a country of origin. We're Americans. And a lot of us are dropping the African part of it because we're not African American. We're black Americans of African descent. One thing about the right is they are organized and get things done. The left is focused on redistricting instead of writing legislation. Exactly. Remember what they said, the biggest problem in politics is money. Obama gets in the office for 8 years. They wrote no legislation to repeal Citizens United. They were in control of Congress. No legislation to repeal Citizens United. Last 4 years of Biden, no legislation to repeal Citizens United. As a matter of fact, a lot of Democrats are saying, oh, well, you know, we have some really good oligarchs that are funding our campaigns. So those Democrats in Texas that have ran, they want to know who's funding them to do that. It's going to cost $1 million a day. Remember, they're being fined. Each member, I think, is fined $500. And I'm not from Texas, but I keep up with it. I think it's $500 a day that they're absent. So where are these people getting this money? Who's going to foot this bill? George Soros or whoever these people are, right? It's a game. This is political theater. It's political theater. There's only one party, the ruling party. And people need to wake up and understand that. Neither party is better than the other. For 4 years, okay, you could be president and play these games and we'll run around. As long as the black people remain at the bottom, we're doing great. Sit down. Come here, Benny. Sit down. Yeah, AIPAC, all these people. Yeah, the Jewish people. I'm going to show you how crazy this is. Benny, come here and sit down. Let me show you guys this dog here. Come here. Sit. Don't let that cat get you in trouble. Don't let that cat get you in trouble. He tries to follow Tylen, and Tylen will get him in trouble. Good Alsgard, isn't that an oxymoron? Yeah. I'm going to show you how crazy this is, okay? Two wings of the same bird, exactly. I'm going to show you how crazy it is. You guys know who Stephen Miller is, right? Stephen Miller. And the way before I say this, I want to just make sure. Hold on. Again, people need to use Google. It's right in your phone. All right. I'm going to say this. Stephen Miller. How many of you guys are familiar with Stephen Miller? He's the bald-headed, Nazi-looking white guy in the Trump administration, right? You guys are familiar with Stephen Miller? How many of you guys know? Let me read this correctly. Stephen Miller was raised Jewish and had a bar mitzvah. He was born in Santa Monica, California, and grew up in a Jewish family. He's racist as all outside, and he's in the Trump administration. Jewish. The same Jewish people that walked with Dr. King. He's racist and he's a Republican. Now, I'm not saying all people who are Jewish are racist. I'm not saying that. But what does that tell you? How many rich Jewish people do you see donating to black people? A lot of people don't know that this guy is Jewish. Look at the racism where did he get that from? By the way, he went to Duke University. I just Googled it. He's from Santa Monica, California. Oh, California is so liberal. You people who do not live in California do not know what you're talking about. Operation Mockingbird again. They're making you think a certain way so that you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you're not doing the research. Good morning, Cuzzo Penny. Good morning. Good morning. That's my cousin Penny. She likes to check in on me, make sure everything is good to go. She's my matter of fact, cousin Penny, we were talking about Stephen Miller. He's the bald-headed white guy in the Trump administration that's racist as all hell. I was just telling everybody Stephen Miller is Jewish. And he was born and raised in Santa Monica, California. What a coincidence. A Jewish man? Racist? You can't make this shit up. You can't. I'm sorry to be cursing on a Sunday, but you just can't make this up. People got smartphones right in their hands, and they rather play Gypsy or whatever these games that they play on there rather than educate themselves and really understand what people are saying. I always tell people on my podcast, on the Demetra K Show, don't just listen to what we're saying. Research what we're saying. I want you to challenge me. Look, even my cousin Penny, she's from California. She knows what... Now, me and my cousin Penny, we don't always agree on everything. But as both being Californians, we know what is going on in California. California is not liberal. She just said it in the chat. He attended SAMO. Extremely racist. Now, my cousin Penny is from LA County, LA City proper. Okay, ground zero. She knows more about Stephen Miller than I would. Okay? And here she is saying that he's racist. A guy from liberal California. And a Jew. And I'm not trying to spew Jew hate. That ain't what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show you guys people are people. Does religion have anything to do with it? I am judged before anybody knows me by what they see and what Operation Mockingbird has put in their head about black people. If you see me from the stereotype, oh, he isn't sagging his pants. Oh, he's kind of nerdish. He's got a military hat on, has gray hair in his beard. He's fairly in shape. I would think he's not a gangster, but he's still black. That's human nature, you guys. It's just human nature. But Penny actually proved my point. Operation Mockingbird propaganda has people outside of these borders thinking California is just this liberal, oh, it is what it is, just you be you. Oh, you're going to come over here and delete your babies? No problem. California is very racist. The white Aryan nation was started by Camp Pendleton in Fallbrook. What's the other racist organization, Penny? Their headquarters was in Fontana, California. Fontana, California. 20 minutes from where I'm at right now. You guys, look up Operation Mockingbird. It is still in effect today. It is a program that is out to own the media and to set a parameter of propaganda to make people think a certain way to get to an objective of the government. Ask yourself, if we actually live in a democracy, why is it that if you turn on CNN, Fox News, MSDNC, your local news channels, they all report basically the same thing with no opposition of the other side? When I was growing up as a little kid, I would always ask myself, I said, okay, you're saying that this guy is a criminal and a murderer, you're reporting that, but you're not reporting the other side. What made this person do this or do that? They just report one side of it and you only get one side. So that when this man goes to court, guess what? You only have one side of the information that you saw from the news, right? That's why when you go to court and you're on jury duty, they ask you, do you watch TV a lot? Do you do these things? So this man could get a fair trial. When I started serving on jury duties and I actually got selected and I actually saw like the evidence that we don't see, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm looking at this guy who they're painting as this gangster crip. Oh my gosh, he did this, did that. But then when you look at the evidence that is presented to you using your common sense, you don't have to be a lawyer, you come to a different conclusion. All right, Penn, you guys have a great day. Making jambalaya. Put a plate in the freezer for me. We'll see you later. But I mean, that's when I really saw what was going on. They paint a narrative to make you think a certain thing. And I remember when I went to the jury pool, within 10 minutes they were ready to convict this guy, even though the evidence said differently, because they've been conditioned to think a certain way. But Stephen Miller, you guys, California liberal raised, Californian raised, Stephen Miller, one of the biggest racists out there in the Trump administration. Everybody's like, see, he's Republican and he's a racist, whatever. How many people that have Stephen Miller's background that are Democrats? That's what I want you to think about. He's an anomaly, being Jewish and a Republican and whatever, but why is a Jew being racist? And then he's not even a Orthodox Jew, all right? A lot of these American Jewish people are not the Orthodox Jew. How do I know this? Because as you Christians, as you read the Bible, Jesus is barely descriptively described. Hair of wool, skin of bronze, eyes of fire. That looks more like me than it does Stephen Miller and a lot of these people in the United States that call themselves Jews. those of us that know the truth, the real Jews aren't even in it. They're not even in Israel. They're in Ethiopia, and they more look like me. But see, people don't want to use their smartphones. They don't want to use it. They don't want to know the truth. Even in the Bible it says, you will know the truth and it will set you free. But people don't want to know the truth. It's crazy. So no, I don't regret my vote. Not at all, not one bit. Because my vote actually helped my people. I admit and I know that this economic system is designed to keep my people on the bottom. To vote Democrat after 70 years of no progress does not benefit my people one bit. So no. I would rather vote for a man that's a narcissist, a-hole, and whatever else you want to call him. But I do know he's doing something for my people that is tangible. I can see, I can feel, and I can hear. Because every time we helped other groups, they didn't want to help us. And the biggest problem in the black community is the black female. And I'm not saying that to be negative in regard to being disrespectful. What I'm saying is it is a woman's nature to be nurturing. And that nurturing and empathy that women have is detrimental to the black community as we struggle to survive. Because most of the people that you see out there helping the Latinos and all these other groups are mostly black women and simp black men raised by women. And that's just the trait you guys are built with. It has to be used in the right way. It's funny how that nurturing and that sympathy and empathy isn't used by black women within its own community towards its own men. But the black women will be the first out there for those Latinos, their Latino girlfriends and all of them, and then when they ain't got no man, you don't see the Latino women helping. We got to do better, ladies. I hear what you're saying. You don't want this and you don't want that. Everybody should get along. But that's not real world. That isn't how the world works. Everybody's not going to get along. The world that you envision will not exist in your lifetime. You are out there helping people who are racist, if not more so than the white man. Because they have a home country that they step on dark-skinned people. And Professor Howard says she didn't vote at all. And that's an option too. That's a mechanism too. That is your right, and that is a mechanism. You don't want to participate? You know, and Professor Howard, I don't have to tell you this. More than half of the eligible people to vote in the United States don't vote. Because they see the game. I'm just saying, within our community, our black women need to take a seat. You're out here caping for other groups, and we have our own problems to deal with. I woke up this morning and I saw a video where black women aren't even paying for the little fake-ass hair they put on top of their heads. They're trying to stiff the stylist. I'm like, oh my God. And then last night I saw the video on the Alabama beauty shop where you got black women that are camping out to get $200 free hair that you don't know whose spirit it came from. making a Middle Eastern man and his family rich. Make it make sense. And I'm not saying all black women. That ain't what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. I'm talking about you got to take care of home before you can worry about anybody else. Anita says, I respectfully disagree. Okay. I mean, our priorities are all screwed up. It's all screwed up in our community. The only community where the matriarchy is strong is in the black community. Why is that? And have you guys noticed the women, the feminazis, the ones that think they speak for the majority of black women, they never have a man. They hate men, but they have children. When I run across a young person that has a vendetta against a father that they never knew, I'm like, how do you hate a man you never even met? And why don't you have this venom against your mother who knows who your father is? But no, they love mama no matter what. In the black community, a mother could create paternity fraud. I'm your mama, don't say nothing. You know, she could do no wrong. No matter what she does, she could do no wrong. How many of you guys saw the video of those little boys stealing out of the CVS? Disgraceful. Where did they learn that from? Because if you see their mannerisms, very sassy. I'm going to assume they learned it from their mothers. You could just go into a store, fill up, and walk out. Who taught them that? And then their follow-up video with the sister on there. What older sister would be stupid enough to try to rebut what everybody saw with their own eyes? Everybody. Do you hear what the kid said? Everybody steals. Where did he get that from? Everybody steals. And did you see how those kids were dressed? And I'm going to speak for myself. I'm at the gym. I have never seen so many sassy young men. And I say that for the simple fact of, who told you it is cool to wear pink tennis shoes? Who told you that? This is where we're at, ladies. You guys are the ones teaching the kids. You don't need no man. Sounds to me you need a man. Every time I go to the gym and I'm playing basketball, or even if I see a kid, and a kid even tries to challenge me, a teenager, I laugh in their face. And I tell them straight up, as a man, sorry, bruh. I can't be intimidated by a man that wears pink tennis shoes. Can't do it. Can't do it. I can't respect a man that wears pink tennis shoes. Can't do it. And I look at him dead in their face like, what you gonna do? Man's perspective. Man's perspective. Ladies, do you want to know why the patriarchy is so strong overseas and feminism will not be tolerated? It's because feminism destroys communities, as we see what's happening in the United States and a lot of Western civilizations. So anyway, you guys, let me get out of here. I do not regret my vote. Will not regret it, because my vote actually helped my community. Midterms are coming up. I want you guys to look around in your community, and if you have so-called black representation and your neighborhood still looks like shit, you might want to look in the mirror and ask yourself, who is the problem? Donovan Sadiq, you guys, I don't regret my vote at all. Talk to you guys later. Professor Howard, don't forget to join us for the Demetra K Show. And also, don't forget to download the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store. Talk to you guys later.